Hello friends, today I am here with the question paper discussion of ISRO Scientist Civil exam held on 7th of January. The question paper consists of two parts. The first part consists of civil engineering and the second part is of general aptitude. All the questions are objectively based questions and negative marking was also there. And the level of the exam was moderately easy, but some of the numerical problems were a bit lengthy. And I am also happy to say that prior to the exam, Civilianz has conducted a series of ISRO marathon classes and almost all the concepts in this exam was already discussed in our classes. So let's move on to the subject-wise analysis. These are the subject-wise analysis of the exam. From this analysis, we are able to understand that RCC had the most weightage with around 22 marks of questions were asked from this subject, and geotechnical engineering also had a big weightage. So let's move on to the questions. So the first question is from the engineering mathematics. The question is, with a 1 unit change in B, what is the change in X in the solution of the system of equation? So basically we have been given a system of equation. The first equation is x plus y equal to 2 and the second equation is 1.01x plus 0.99y equal to B. So we need to find out what is the change in X with a 1 unit change in B. So at first, we will solve the both equations, then we will obtain 0.02 is equal to b minus 1.98. Then we will differentiate on both sides, then we will obtain 0.02 dx is equal to db. From that, we will obtain dx is equal to 50 dB. Already the value of dB, that is change in B, is given as 1. So we will substitute dB as 1, then dx will become 50 units. So the answer is option C, 50 units. This is a very simple question. Now let's move on to the second question. Second question is also from engineering mathematics. So what we have been given is that what is the derivative of f of x is equal to mod x at x is equal to 0. So we know that the function is f of x is equal to mod x. So what we need to find out is the differentiable value, whether f of x is, what is the derivative of f of x at x is equal to 0. So for that we need to find out the left hand derivative and the right hand derivative. For left hand derivative, the value of x is less than 0. When x is less than 0, mod x will become minus x. So on taking derivative on that side, left hand side, we will obtain LSGD, that is left hand derivative of f of x as minus 1. Similarly, for right hand derivative, the value of x is taken as greater than 0, that is x is a positive value. Then the f of x is equal to x itself. On taking the right hand derivative of the f of x, that is f dash of x will become 1. From this we are able to find out that the left hand derivative is not equal to right hand derivative. Thus the answer is there is no derivative available for f of x is equal to mod x at x is equal to 0. Now let's move on to the third question. In third question, we have been given a system of simultaneous equation. That is, the first equation is x plus 2y plus z is equal to 6 and 2x plus y plus 2z is equal to 6 and 6x plus y plus z is equal to 5. And what we need to find out is that the nature of the solution of this system of equation. So we will express these three system of equation in the form of an augmented matrix, and on combining the matrix we will obtain it as like this, and then we will undergo row transformation in this, and on conducting row transformation in the augmented matrix we are able to find out that the rank of the matrix A is equal to 2, but the rank of the augmented matrix is equal to 3. So since the rank is different, there will be no solution. So the answer is option C with no solution. Now let's move on to the fourth question. The fourth question is that we have been given a function f of x which is equal to 2x cube minus 3x square minus 36x plus 2. And then we need to find that at which point does it will have the maxima. So first we will write the f of x as itself, that is 2x cube minus 3x square minus 36 plus 2. Then we'll find out the critical point. For that we'll take f dash of x is equal to 0. Then we'll find the value of x which is equal to 3 and minus 2. Then we'll find out the f double dash of x, and we'll find out whether f double dash of x is equal to greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, then that particular critical point is minima point, and if f double dash of x is less than 0, then it is a maxima point. So from the two values of x which is equal to 3 and minus 2, we are able to find out that x is equal to 3 will give us the point of minima, and x is equal to minus 2 will give the point of maxima. So the answer is that this function will have a maxima at x is equal to minus 2 only. So the option B is the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. We have been given a table of a function f of x, and different values of x is given within an interval of 0.25. So the value of x and f of x is given, and we need to find out the value of integral of the function between the limits 0 to 1 using the Simpson's rule. So the equation of Simpson's rule is given here, and from that we will find out the values, and on implementing it we will obtain the value as 0.7854. So option A is the correct answer. I am not going into the mathematical part of it, calculation part of it. So the option A is the right answer. Next is the question number 6. So question number 6 is that a pipe A can fill an empty tank in 5 hours, but pipe B can empty the full tank in 6 hours. If both the tanks are opened at the same time when the tank is empty, how much time is required to fill the tank full? So for that let's assume that the size of the tank is 1 unit, and the 1 hour contribution of the tank A is equal to 1 by 5 units, because it is given in the question that A can fill a tank in 5 hours. So the contribution in 1 hour is 1 by 5. Now B's 1 hour contribution is 1 by 6 units, and here we have given minus 1 by 6. It is because in question it is given that B can empty the full tank in 6 hours. So the contribution is given a negative sign since it is emptying the tank. So 1 hour output of both A plus B is equal to 1 by 5 minus 1 by 6, which is equal to 1 by 30. So the time needed by A and B, both the tanks combined, is that 1 by 30, which is equal to 30 hours. So the answer is option B, 30 hours. Now let's move on to the next question. We have been given a series of statements. That first statement is, if the Reynolds number is less than 2000, consider the following statements, and if the Reynolds number is less than 2000, second, if the Reynolds number is between 2000 and 4000, third, if the Reynolds number is greater than 4000. These are the three conditions. And which of these following statement is correct for a turbulent flow in a circular pipe? We know that in the case of the circular pipe, if the Reynolds number is less than 2000, then the flow will be laminar. Between 2000 to 4000, the flow will be transitional, and the flow will be turbulent when the Reynolds number is greater than 4000. So the option 3, that is option C, is the correct. So third statement is the right one. This is also a pretty basic question based on the concept in fluid mechanics. Now let's move on to the next question. In an open tank, a water level is maintained at a constant level through a supply of water. The tank is provided with a circular opening of 2 cm radius, which discharges 0.74 meter cube water per minute. What we need to determine is that the depth from the top to the center of the opening for the above hydraulic conditions. So the inflow is equal to outflow, that is what we will assume, and using the equation Q is equal to CD into 4 into root of 2GH, and on solving that we will obtain the value of height as 4.8 meter. So option B is the right answer. This is also a concept based question, and it is a simple question. Now let's move on to the next question. Flowing and stored water possess which of the following energy? This is a very basic question. We are studying it in the 10th standard level itself. We know that the flowing water usually possess kinetic energy and the stored water usually possess potential energy. So the option C is the right answer, kinetic and potential energy. Next question is the 10th question. The pressure exerted on a ball immersed in the water at a depth of 5 meter is. This is a simple question. So, we will find out the pressure as P is equal to rho GH. The density of the water is 100 kg per meter cube and the gravitational force is taken as 10 meter per second square and the height is given in the question as 5. So, on solving, we will obtain the answer as 500 kilopascal. So, option B is the right answer. Next question is from the irrigation chapter. So, drip irrigation or trickle or micro irrigation is adopted under the situation where sufficient water is available, where sufficient water is not available, it delivers water and nutrients directly to the plant's root zone. Plant gets exactly what it needs to grow optimally. We know that usually drip irrigation is adopted when the amount of water available is very less, so that we could utilize that water to the maximum extent. So, option 1 is wrong. So, the correct answer is 1, 2, 3 and 4. That is option C is the right answer. Moving on to the next question. Next question is from the hydrology. So, ombrometer or pluviometer is used to measure. We all know the answer because this is a very simple question. The answer is pluviometer is usually used to measure rainfall depth. Moving on to the 13th question. 13th question is also from irrigation. It is based on the cross drainage structure. In the cross drainage, hydraulic structure which carries a canal above the drainage is termed as. We know that when the canal is above the drainage, the structure is known as siphon aqueduct or aqueduct. So, option D is the right answer. Moving on to the next question. Next question is about a gravity dam. So, the base width of a soil gravity dam is 25 meter. The material of a dam has a specific gravity as 2.56 and the dam is designed as an elementary profile ignoring the uplift. We need to note this point here, uplift is ignored. What is the approximate allowable height of the dam? Let's move on to the calculation. So, we know that B is equal to H by root of S minus C. Since uplift is neglected, C is equal to 0. So, B is equal to H by root S and H is equal to B into root S. Here B means the base width which is given as 25 meter into root S is the square root of specific gravity which is equal to 2.56. So, 25 into root of 2.56 which is equal to 40 meter. So, option B is the right answer. Moving on to the next question. Next question is from survey. So, the reduced level of the point A which is on the floor is 110 meter and the backside reading on A is 2.635 meter. If the foresight reading on the point B which is on the ceiling is 2.575 meter, the reduced level of the point B will be. Let's move on to the calculation. So, reduced level of A is equal to 110 meter. The backside at A is given as 2.635 meter and foresight at B is equal to minus 2.575 meter because it is the inverted staff reading. That's why we provided the minus sign. We know that height of the instrument is equal to the reduced level of A plus backside at A. So, which is equal to 110 meter plus 2.635 meter which is equal to 112.635 meter. So, from that we will be able to find out the reduced level of B. Reduced level of B is equal to height of instrument minus foresight at B. So, here the foresight at B is an inverted staff reading. So, 112.635 minus of minus 2.575. So, this minus and minus will become plus. The answer is 115.210 meter. Here, the correct answer is not given. So, we can choose option D as the right answer because it is the nearest value to the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Next question is also from the survey. So a 20-meter chain was found to be 10 centimeter long after chaining a distance of 2000 meter. It was found to be 18 centimeter long at the end of the day's work after chaining a total distance of 4000 meter. What is the true distance if the correct chain was used for the measurement work? Let's move on to the calculation. So true length is equal to measured length into actual length of the chain divided by the standard length of chain. Here two conditions are given. So while doing the calculation, we will obtain the answer as 4019 meter. So option B is the right answer. Now let's move on to the next question. Next question is also from survey. So we have been given a closed traverse with 5 sides. The error found from the forebearing and back bearing of the last line is plus 2 degree. Calculate the correction to be applied for each line. So we have been given the correction for the last line is 2 degree. So correction for each line is equal to 2 degree by 5. While converting the degree into minute, and we will obtain the answer as 0 degree and 24 minute. So option A is the right answer. So moving on to the 18th question. 18th question is from survey. So following offsets were taken from survey line to a hedge. The distance and the offsets are given in meters. The area between survey line and hedge is needed to be calculated, and they have given in the question itself trapezoidal methods needs to be adopted. So we know that using trapezoidal method, the area is equal to d by 2 into first ordinate plus second ordinate plus 2 into intermediate ordinates. Using that, we will calculate the area 1 and area 2, and taking the sum, we will obtain the answer as 245 meters square. So option D is the correct answer, that is 245 meters square is the correct answer. Moving on to the 19th question. What is chain angle with regarding to surveying? So we know that in chain traversing sometimes angles cannot be measured. In such cases, we will be taking the distances at the corners. So the process of taking distances at the corners is called chain angle. So chain angle is basically measuring the distances at the corner. Now moving on to the 20th question. 20th question is from transportation. So what shall be the radius of horizontal curve of a highway with design speed of 100 km per hour? So V is given as 100 km per hour and the coefficient of lateral friction F is given as 0.10. We know that the equation is E plus F is equal to V square by 127R. Here the super elevation is not mentioned, so we will take E as 0. So we will obtain F is equal to V square by 127R. So from that we will put 100 as V and 0.1 as R. So we will obtain the value as 787.4 meter. That is option B. That is the approximate answer. So option B is the right answer, 800 meter. Moving on to the 21st question. Which of the following is not a natural error in compass surveying? So while observing the options, we are able to find out that local attraction forces, the influence of local attraction forces and variation in declination are natural error in compass surveying. So option B, pivot being bent, is not a natural error. So option B is the right answer. Now moving on to the next question. Next question is the method of carrying levels and establishing the reduced level of a new point from a non-benchmark is. This is the definition of fly leveling. So option B, fly leveling, is the right answer. Moving on to the 23rd question. 23rd question means the correct prismoidal formula for volume is. We know that in calculating area using calculating volume using prismoidal formula, D by 3 into first area plus last area plus 4 into summation of even area plus 2 into odd area is the right answer. So option B, that is 2, is the right formula. Moving on to the 24th question, the correct volume of concrete for the footing size indicated below. We have been given a footing. and we need to find out how much volume of concrete is required. Let's move on to the calculation. So volume is equal to volume of the bottom part plus volume of the top part. So volume of the bottom part is equal to 2 into 2 into 0.4, which is equal to 1.6 meter cube, and volume of the top part is equal to bottom area plus top area by 2 into height, because it is looking like a trapezoid. So while adopting this and calculating, we will obtain the total volume as 1.6 plus 1.5, which is equal to 3.1 meter cube. So option D, that is the answer which is nearer to the right answer. So option D, 3.20 cumex is the right answer. Moving on to the 25th question. This is a simple question. So for plastering, what is the deduction to be made where window is fixed flush to the wall surface for opening of size 1 by 1.5 meter as per IS code 1200. So in such cases, when the opening size is less, we will adopt the deduction on one face of the wall. So option A is the right answer. Moving on to the 26th question. The general requirement as per BIS code 49264 for RMC is that concrete shall be discharged from the truck mixer within dash time of loading without using a retarding admixture. We have taken an abstract from the code itself. In the case of RMC, the full load of concrete is to be discharged within 30 minutes of arrival on the site. So option A is the right answer. 30 minutes is the right answer. Moving on to the 27th question. A good brick, when immersed in water for 24 hours, shall not be absorbed more than. This is a previous question also. The answer is option B. 20% of its dry weight is the right answer. Moving on to the 28th question. Singly reinforced beams are designed to resist. This is a basic question from RCC. Usually, singly reinforced beams are adopted to resist bending moment and shear forces only. So, option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 29th question. What is the depth of neutral axis of a balanced section of 340 mm depth with 40 mm effective cover, and the grade of the reinforcing steel is Fe500. Moving on to the calculation, we know that for Fe500, XU is equal to 0.46D and 0.46 into, we know that 340 mm is the depth and 40 mm is the effective cover. So, in order to find the effective depth, 340 minus 40, so and on multiplying it with 0.46, we will obtain the answer as 138. So, option C is the right answer. This is a very simple question. Moving on to the 30th question. What is the depth of beam required from vertical deflection limit criteria as per IS 456-2000 for a beam of 5 meter span with a simply supported condition? In that case, the answer is 250 mm. For simply supported condition, L by D is equal to 20, and from that we know that in the question is 5 MTS is the span. So, we will take it as 5000 divided by D, which is equal to 20, and D is equal to 250 mm. So, option B is the right answer. Now moving on to the 31st question. Ductile detailing is usually provided in the RC structure to enhance the performance under. We know that usually ductile detailing is provided when the structure is at an earthquake prone area. That is, it is usually adopted for improving the performance during the earthquake. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the next question. The effective moment of inertia IE of a cracked section in an RC beam is. We know that when the effective moment of inertia of a cracked section in RC beam is always greater than the moment of inertia of a fully cracked section, and it is always less than the gross uncracked moment of inertia of a gross uncracked section. This is a simple question and the answer is option B. Moving on to the 33rd question. What is the bending moment to be resisted by a footing of size 2.5 meter by 2.5 meter supporting a column of 0.5 meter by 0.5 meter subjected to a soil pressure of 200 kilonewton per meter square. On doing the calculation, the right answer is 250 kilonewton per meter. 250 kilonewton meter. So option B. Now moving on to the 34th question. What is the inter-story drift limitation in terms of story height as per IS 1893-2016? So this is the abstract from the IS code itself. The story drift in any story due to the minimum specified design lateral force with partial load factor of 1.0 shall not exceed 0.004 times the story height. This is a direct question from the code itself. So answer is option A, 0.4%. Moving on to the next question. What is the equivalent shear in a beam of width 300 mm subjected to a shear force of 100 kN and torsional moment of 60 kN meter? So we know that V is equal to V plus 1.6 T by B. We have been given the value of V as 100 kilonewton, the shear force is 100 kilonewton plus 1.6 into the torsional moment is 60 kilonewton meter. So into 60 divided by width is given as 0.3. So on calculating, we will obtain the answer as 420 kilonewton. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 36th question, this is based on a code as per IS 456-2000 regarding the thickness of edge of the footing, consider the following assertion. The assertion 1, in a reinforced concrete footing, the thickness at the edge shall not be greater than 150 mm for footings on soils, and assertion 2, in plain or unreinforced concrete footing, the thickness at the edge shall not be less than 100 mm for footings on soil. Which of the following statement is correct? As per IS 456, both the statements are wrong. So, both assertion 1 and assertion 2 are false. That is, it is given here in reinforced and plain concrete footing, the thickness at the edge shall not be less than 150 mm for footings on soil, nor less than 300 mm above the top of piles for footings on piles. So, both is wrong. Moving on to the 37th question. The basic virtues of earthquake resistant design of the building is all these three, that is A, B and C, that is it should have a good structural configuration, lateral stiffness and strength should be good, and it should be good with regarding to the collapse mechanism. So, these three are the basic virtues of earthquake resistant design. So, option D, all of the above is the right answer. Moving on to the next question. Next question is from the concrete technology. Select the incorrect statement for tricalcium aluminate. So we know that tricalcium aluminate has generally high heat of hydration. So option B is obviously wrong. So option B is the right answer. It generates less heat of hydration is wrong. So option B. Moving on to the 39th question. For the construction of thin RCC structure, the type of cement to be avoided is blast furnace slag cement. So option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 40th question. The lightweight aggregates are obtained from, this is a basic question. The lightweight aggregates are usually obtained from volcanic sources. So option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 41st question. In crack arrest mechanism is usually observed in which type of concrete? It is usually observed in fiber reinforced concrete. So option C is the right answer. Moving on to the 42nd question. The 42nd question is from geotechnical engineering. On a grading curve, the gap grading is represented by, we know that when there is a gap grading occurs in uniform distribution curve, the line will be a horizontal line. So option A is the right answer. Moving on to the 43rd question. A flaky aggregate is said to be elongated if its length is. This is a direct question. Usually a flaky aggregate is said to be elongated if its length is twice its mean size. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 43rd question. The pozzolanic action for formation of CSH is represented best by which of the following? Option B, that is CaOH twice plus reactive silicon dioxide plus H2O will give the CSH. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 45th question. The gel space ratio is not dependent on which of the following? The gel space ratio depends on concrete content, fraction of how much cement gets hydrated, and the water volume available for hydration. So obviously the aggregate volume is the factor which is not a depending factor. So option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 46th question. In NDT evaluation, the PUNDIT stands for. So it means Portable Ultrasonic Non-Destructive Indicator Test. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 47th question. In a construction site, the RMC vehicle arrived 2 hours late with 7 meter cube of concrete. As a site engineer, what will be your action? This is from construction management. So the RMC vehicle has arrived late. So obviously we need to stop the vehicle and reject the batch, and we also need to inform the competent authority. So option C is the right answer. Moving on to the 48th question. The flash mixer in water treatment is usually used. It is used to mix the coagulants rapidly. This is a general question. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 49th question. The aeration process removes excess of dash from water. Aeration process is usually adopted to remove the dissolved substances, dissolved gases in water. So carbon dioxide and iron are removed on using the aeration process. So from this, option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 50th question. The formula that is commonly used to calculate water flow in pipe system. The option is Manning, option B is Hazen-Billings, option C is Stokes, and option D is Chassis. We know that in the case of pipe flow, option B, Hazen-Williams, is adopted. Moving on to the next question, that is 51st question. It is from environmental engineering. Wholesome water means. We know that wholesome water is the water which is free from pathogens or harmful substances. So option D is the right answer. Moving on to the next question. The minimum velocity of flow in sewers at initial peak flow is. This is a direct question. The minimum velocity is 0.6 meter per second. So option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 53rd question. The minimum level of oxygen as milligram per liter in water bodies for the survival of aquatic life in India is. This is a previous question also. So the option C, 4 is the right answer. Moving on to the 54th question. We have been given a sedimentation tank and its diameter is 16 meters with average depth of 2 meters. The rate of flow is 5 mld. The detention period is. We know that the detention time is equal to volume divided by discharge. While calculating the volume, we will obtain it as 401.92 meter cube. We have been given the discharge of the flow or rate of flow as 5 mld, and directly substituting it in this equation, we will obtain the detention time as 1.92 hours. While comparing the options, option D is very closer to the answer. So option D is the right answer, 1.93. Moving on to the next question. The various factors which controls the highway alignments are. We know that the obligatory points, traffic and the geometric design are definitely control points. So option D, that is 1, 2 and 3 is the right answer. Moving on to the 56th question. We have been given a headlight sight distance on a highway, that is 105 meter. Then what will be the value of ISD or intermediate sight distance? Let's move on to the calculation. We know that intermediate sight distance is equal to 2 into stopping sight distance. So minimum value of headlight distance is equal to stopping sight distance. So we can take SSD is equal to HSD itself. We have been given the value of HSD as 105 meter. So intermediate sight distance ISD is equal to 2 into HSD, which is equal to 2 into 105, which is equal to 210 meter. So option C is the right answer. This is a very simple question from the geometrical design of highway. So next is the desirable properties of soil highway material is called. So the material, the soil while using on highway should satisfy the following condition. It should be very stable, it should be highly incompressible, and its strength should be good. So stability, incompressibility and permanency of strength is the right answer. That is option D is the answer. This is the minimum water content required to make the soil flow under the application of very small shearing force. This question is from geotechnical engineering. We all know that it is the definition of a consistency limit, that is liquid limit. So, the definition of liquid limit is that it is a minimum water content that is required to make the soil flow under the application of very small shearing force. So, option C is the right answer. Moving on to the 59th question. The California Bearing Ratio Test, that is CBR test, is an empirical. We know that CBR test is a penetration test. The 2.5 mm and 5 mm penetration values are the standard value and the strength is taken accordingly. So, option A is the right answer. Moving on to the 60th question. Identify the most significant factor which affect the design and performance of rigid pavements. We have been given 4 options: grade of concrete, temperature variation, type of joints and their spacings, and wheel load. But the most important factor for the design and performance of rigid pavement is obviously the wheel load which is happening on that pavement. So, option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 61st question. This is also from highway. So, the requirement of highway drainage are, we have been given 3 options. The surface water from the carriageway is effectively drained off. That is right. The surface water from the adjoining land should be prevented from entering the roadway. That is also true. Otherwise, the subbase will get affected and it will affect the strength of the highway. And the seepage and other sources of underground water should be effectively intercepted and drained off. So, all these statements are right. So, option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 62nd question. The formula 0.00006 WV square is the expression for. This is the expression for atmospheric resistance. So, option C is the right answer. Moving on to the 63rd question. This is from railway. A locomotive on a meter gauge track has 3 pairs of driving wheels, each carrying 20 tons. What maximum load can it pull on a level track with a curvature of 2 degrees at 50 km per hour? So, the hauling capacity is equal to the total resistance on train. W is equal to 20 tons and V is equal to 50 km per hour. The D is given as 2, that is the curvature, degree of curvature is 2 and the rolling resistance is 0.016 W. So, and on substituting the equation, we will obtain the answer as 1300 tons. So, this is the right answer. Moving on to the 64th question. The density index of a sand was determined as 65%. The observed values of maximum and minimum dry unit weight corresponding to the loosest and densest states were 13.5 kN per meter cube and 16.5 kilonewton per meter cube. If the specific gravity is given as 2.65, what is the in situ void ratio of the soil? This is from geotechnical engineering. So, we know that the relative density is equal to E max minus E by E max minus E minimum. So, we have been given the value of gamma D max and gamma D minimum. So, that is 16.5 kilonewton per meter cube and 13.5 kilonewton per meter cube. And on substituting and finding out, this is the calculation given here and we will obtain the value of E as 0.766. But here the right answer is not given. Let's move on to the next question, that is the 65th question. It is also from geotechnical engineering. So, the question is, what is the ultimate load carrying capacity of a friction pile of 300 mm diameter and 10 meter length, and it is placed in clay soil of unit weight 15 kN per meter cube and a cohesion of 40 kilopascal. Take adhesion factor that is alpha as 0.8 and using IS code method we need to find out the ultimate load carrying capacity. So, it has been given that D is equal to 300 mm, L is equal to 10 meter and C is equal to 40 kilopascal. It is also given in the question that the adhesion factor alpha is taken as 0.8 and using the equation we will find out that the QU is equal to 301.44 and from the option, the most suitable answer is option C. So, the right answer is option C, 301.59 kilonewton. Moving on to the next question. This is also from the geotechnical engineering. It is from the Atterberg limits. So we have been given the liquid limit and plastic limit of a fine grained soil, which are respectively 45% and 32%. And we need to find out what is the type of soil as per IS classification method. This is found out using the plasticity chart. We know that the liquid limit is equal to 45%, plastic limit is equal to 32%. We know that the plasticity index is equal to WL minus WP, which is equal to 13%, and for the plasticity chart, the plasticity index is found out using 0.73 into WL minus 20, which is equal to 9.49%. The IP is greater than IP of plasticity chart, and using the plasticity chart we are able to find out that the type of the soil is silty soil of intermediate plasticity, that is option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 67th question, this is related to the bearing capacity of the soil. So, when the water table, the given condition for the water table is at the base of the footing, and we need to find out what are the values of water table correction factors, that is the value of RW1 and RW2. We know that when the water table is at the base of the soil, that is base of the footing, then the value of RW1 and RW2 are 1 and 0.5 respectively. This is a direct question and it is very simple also. Moving on to the next question, this is also from the related to foundation engineering. So, we have been given a rigid footing resting on a saturated clay, then the contact pressure on the footing is. For the case of a rigid footing, resting on a saturated clay, the pressure diagram is usually uniform. So, it is maximum at the edges and minimum at the center. So, the right answer is option A. Moving on to the 69th question, this is from the compaction chapter. So, the Proctor needle method in the field compaction is useful to quickly measure the four options are given. The option A is thickness of layer, option B is compactive effort, option C is bulk density of soil, and option D is water content of the soil. The most apt answer is water content of soil. We are also able to find out the dry density of the soil using Proctor needle method, but here it is at option C it is given as bulk density, so we didn't choose that. We chose option D as the right answer. Moving on to the 17th question, this is also direct question. So, the settlement of a pile groove placed in a sandy soil should be, we have been given options as option A as B less than 30 mm, option B as B less than 40 mm, option C as not exceeding 10 times the settlement of a single pile, and option D is not exceeding 16 times the settlement of a single pile. The right answer is the settlement of a groove pile placed in a sandy soil should not exceed 16 times the settlement of a single pile, that is option D. Moving on to the 71st question, this is about the grading of sand, that is about grade distribution of soil. So, the coefficient of uniformity Cu and the coefficient of a curvature for a well graded sand should be. From the particle distribution graph, we are able to find out the grading of a soil. So, while conducting that experiment, the value of Cu and Cc are crucial factors. So, for a well graded sand, Cu must be greater than 6 and Cc must be in between 1 and 3. So, the right answer is option B. Moving on to the 72nd question, due to cohesion, the passive earth pressure diagram on the retaining wall is. We know that the passive pressure increases, that is Pp is equal to Kp into sigma plus 2C root Kp. So, from that we are able to find out that as the value of C, that is cohesion, increases, the passive pressure also increases. So, option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 73rd question, the total active thrust in a cohesive backfill will become 0 at. So, we know that at critical depth, the total active thrust in a cohesive backfill will be 0. So, option B, critical depth, is the right answer. Moving on to the 74th question, this is about the bearing capacity of soil. It is again a question from foundation engineering. So, the bearing capacity factor NC, what value of NC should be taken for estimating the load carrying capacity of a pile in clay soil. So in the case of clay soil, the value of Nc is usually taken as 9. So option D is the right answer. Let's move on to the next question. The next question is from concrete technology. So the question is, the setting time of cement can be determined using. We have been given 4 options. A. Wicket apparatus. B. Le Chatelier's apparatus. Option C is Brickett's apparatus. And option D is Hoffman's apparatus. This is a very basic question. We know that for finding out the setting of cement, we usually use Wicket apparatus. The Le Chatelier's apparatus is usually used for finding out the soundness of the cement, and the Briquette apparatus is used for finding out the tensile strength of cement. Moving on to the 76th question. This is from the construction management. So a milestone chart represents. We usually know that a milestone chart is used to represent the activities in chronological order, but this will not be in a logical sequence. So option C is the right answer. Moving on to the 77th question. This is from engineering mechanics. So we know that the unit of a rectangular moment of inertia is meter raised to 4. Then what is the unit of polar moment of inertia? The unit of polar moment of inertia is also the same, that is meter raised to 4. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 78th question. This is from strength of materials. So we have been given 2 isometric materials, and the elongation ratio of 2 isometric materials having the same dimension subjected to same load is 2:4. The ratio of the modulus of 2 isometric material is. We know that the elongation delta is equal to PL by AE. So as the material is isometric and it has same dimension, the equation will reduce to delta is proportional to L by E. So delta 1 by delta 2 is equal to 2 by 4. As the dimension is same, we can avoid the factor of L. Then the delta 1 by delta 2 is equal to 2 by 4. So next the ratio is equal to E1 by E2, which is equal to 4 by 2, as delta is inversely proportional to E. Then the right answer is option D, 4:2. Moving on to the 79th question. This is from structural analysis. We have been given a frame, and if the axial and shear deformation in the different members of the frame are assumed to be negligible, the reduction in the degree of kinematic indeterminacy would be. From the figure, we know that the number of members is equal to 3. Then the degrees of freedom is equal to 3n minus r, which is equal to 3 into 4 minus 4. That is 12 minus 4 is equal to 8. Now the kinematic indeterminacy is 8 minus 3, which is equal to 5. From the question, it has been asked the reduction in degree of indeterminacy. If we move on to the question like that, then the answer will be 8 minus 5, which is equal to 3. But in the answer key, it has been given as B, option B, that is 5. So there is a slight confusion in the question number 79. Moving on to the next question, that is 80th question. A steel column has been given and the end restrainment condition has also been given. At one end, both translation and rotation has been restricted, but in the other end, only rotation is restrained and they are free to translate at the other end. So as per IS 800-2007, we need to find out what are the theoretical and design values of the effective length factor of the column. So the theoretical effective length factor is 1 and the design effective length factor is 1.2. So option A is the right answer. Moving on to the 81st question. From 81st question to 95th question, the questions are from the aptitude section. So we have been given a figure and we need to find out what replaces the question mark. So at first, rover is given and it is related to boat. So for steering, from the 4 options, the option 4, that is car, is the right answer. That is option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 82nd question, we have been given a figure here and we need to find out what is the replica image. From this, we are able to find out that this figure has been inverted. So option A is the replica image. Moving on to the 83rd question, which option replaces the question mark? The main issue related to this question paper in the aptitude section is that most of the figures are not clear. This caused a sort of uncertainty or difficulty in the students. From this, we have been given the shapes of different structures, different objects, and then we need to find out the question mark. At question mark, the answer is option D. Option D is the right answer. Moving on to the 84th question. This question is from a passage based question. So it is basically based on the United States life expectancy ratio. So the average life expectancy for the entire United States of population is 73.9 years. In Hawaii, the people will live a more years, that is an average of 77 years, and those born in Louisiana will have a life expectancy of 71.7 years. Here we have been given a condition. A newly wed couple from Louisiana were begin to move their family in Hawaii. The reason is that at Hawaii the life expectancy is more, so they want to start a family and raise their children at Hawaii. So we need to compare the case in which they move to Hawaii or they will remain at Louisiana. And based on this condition, which of the following, if true, would more seriously weaken the conclusion drawn in the passage? So we need to find out which conclusion weakens the passage. So based on the passage, it is that if the person lives in Hawaii, he will have a more life expectancy. So first option is insurance companies statisticians do not believe that moving to Hawaii will significantly lengthen the average Louisian's life. Option B is that the government of Louisiana has falsely alleged that statistics for his state are inaccurate. And option C is that longevity ascribed to Hawaiian current population is attributable mostly to the genetically determined factor. And option D is that the 30% of all Louisians can expect to live longer than 77 years. The most strongest factor which will create a concern is that the longevity ascribed to Hawaiians current population is attributable mostly to the genetically determined factor. So if the genetically determined factors are an important factor in determining the life expectancy, there is no change or there is no increase in the life expectancy if a person move from Louisiana to Hawaii. So option C is the right answer. Moving on to the 85th question, choose one of the following option that means the opposite of the given word, that is aware. So aware as a person is known about something. So the options are, option A is uncertain, option B is ignorant, option C is sure, and option D is doubtful. From these four options, the most accurate one is obviously ignorant. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 86th question, this is based on a seating arrangement question. So we have been given 6 people, P, Q, R, S and T and U. They are sitting on a ground in a hexagonal shape. So their seating arrangement will be in a hexagonal shape, and we have been given 5 conditions. Based on that, we need to assume their seating position. The first one is that all the sides of the hexagon formed are of the same length. This is an important factor, so it is a regular hexagon. And P is not adjacent to Q or R. So the position of P is not near to Q or R, and S is not adjacent to R or T. And the first factor from which we can formulate the seating arrangement is that Q and R are adjacent. Based on that, we will be positioning Q and R randomly. So Q and R are nearer, and also P is not adjacent to Q or R. So we cannot place P in these two positions because it is near to these two. And the next one is that U is in the middle of the S and R. We know that R is here, so we can place U over here and S obviously over here, so that the U is in between S and R. From the next first one, P is not adjacent to Q or R. So if we are placing P in a suitable position, the most accurate one is over here. So from this, the question is that who is at the same distance from S as T from S? We are able to find out the seating arrangement, and in the question we need to find out the person sitting at the same distance from S, say as the same distance between S and T. So S and T is like this, and the person who is maintaining the same distance with S is obviously R. So option C is the right answer. Moving on to the 87th question. which one will replace the question mark? We have been given 3 set of arrangements, and the number replacing the question mark is, on solving, we are able to find out that the answer is option D, that is 11. Moving on to the 88th question, which one will replace the question mark? We have been given first column it is 1, second it is 8, and third it is 27. From this we are able to understand that these are basically the cubes of numbers, that is 1 is the cube of 1 and 8 is the cube of 2 and 27 is the cube of 3. Then next one will be obviously the cube of 4, that is 64. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the 89th question, we have been given a sequential arrangement, and the which one will replace the question mark? The option is option B. Moving on to the 90th question, we have been given 3 facts. That is, fact 1 is that the islands are surrounded by water, and fact 2 is Maui is an island, and fact 3 is that Maui was formed by a volcano. And based on these 3 facts, we need to find out that which of the given statements are true. So we have been given 3 statements. Maui is surrounded by water. Based on the fact, it is right because Maui is an island. So obviously island is a land area which has been surrounded by water on all sides. So Maui is surrounded by water. Statement 1 is correct. All islands are formed by volcanoes. While checking the fact, it is said that Maui was formed by a volcano. But from that, we will not be able to draw the conclusion that all the islands are formed by volcanoes. So option 2 is not correct. And all volcanoes are on island. Based on these 3 facts, we will not be able to draw a conclusion like that. So statement 2 and statement 3 are wrong. Then the statement 1 is the only right answer. So option A is the correct answer. Moving on to the 91st question, this is also a comprehensive passage based question. The theory of the relativity developed by Albert Einstein revolutionized the field of physics. It challenged the traditional Newtonian concepts of time, space and gravity. Einstein's theory proposed that the time and space are not absolute but are interconnected dimensions that form a 4-dimensional fabric called space-time. It has also introduced the concept of gravity as the curvature space-time caused by the presence of mass and energy. What was the impact of Albert Einstein's theory of relativity? Moving on to the options, the first one is it presented a new model of space-time and revolutionized the understanding of time, space and gravity. Option B is that it disproved the traditional Newtonian concepts and established the absolute nature of time and space. And option C is that it focused on the interplay between mass and energy but did not significantly impact the field of physics. The fourth option is that it introduced the concept of space, time but has minimal influence of the understanding of gravity. From this, option A is the most right answer because it presented a new model of space-time and revolutionized the understanding of time, space and gravity. So option A is the right answer. Moving on to the 92nd question, we have been given a pattern and there is a missing term is there. We need to find out what is the missing term. From this, the first one is B2CD and the third one is BCD4 and fifth one is B5CD and next one is B660. From this, we are able to find out that B, C and D is there, only the number is changing. So 2 is a factor. So the missing one will contain the number 3. So B, C, D and 3 will be there. And now moving on to the position analysis. From this, the numerical is placed in second position. Here the numerical is placed in fourth position. Then again the rotation has taken place. So in this case, the numerical will be placed in the third position. So obviously option B is the right answer, which is BC3D. Moving on to the 93rd question, we have been given a table and from this table we need to analyze we need to do the analysis and answer the question given below. So we have been given the projected and actual production of cars of 5 different companies. The numbers are given in thousands and the 5 companies are A, B, C, D and E and the years are 1987, 1988, 1989, 1990, 1991 and 1992. Which company has the highest actual production of car over these areas? For that, we just need to take the sum of all this, and from this the highest sum is obtained for option C. So option C, the company C has the highest production of cars over this area, over this year. So this is the right answer, and this is a very basic question. Now moving on to the next question, that is 94th question is, study the table carefully and answer the questions given below. We have been given the loan disbursed by banks over the years in crores of rupees, and bank is bank 1, bank 2, bank 3, and bank 4 and bank 5, and the years are 1982, 1983, 1984, 1985 and 1986. What we need to find is that in which bank was the disbursement of loan more than 25% of all banks in 1986. On solving, we will obtain that the right answer is bank 1, that is option A is the right answer. Moving on to the last question. The last question is again from engineering mathematics. So find the point in the curve f of x is equal to x cube plus x square plus x plus 1 in the interval 0, 1, where slope of a tangent to a curve is equal to the slope of a line joining 0, 1. So let's move on to the solution. Here the given function is f of x is equal to x cube plus x square plus 1 and the interval is 0, 1. So now f of x is continuous in the interval 0, 1 and f of x is obviously differentiable in this interval. So the mean value theorem is applicable to this function, which is f of x is equal to x cube plus x square plus x plus 1 in the interval 0, 1. By the mean value theorem, there exists at least one value of x in between 0, 1 such that on substituting that value, f dash of c is equal to f of 1 minus f of 0 divided by 1 minus 0. For that, let's find out the value of f dash of x. We know that f of x is equal to x cube plus x square plus x square plus x plus 1. On differentiating it, we will obtain f dash of x is equal to 3x square plus 2x plus 1. So f dash of c is that on substituting the value of x as c, we will obtain it as 3c square plus 2c plus 1. Now substituting value of x as 1, we will obtain it as f of 1 is equal to 4 and f of 0 is equal to 1. And we know that f dash of c is equal to f of 1 minus f of 0 divided by 1 minus 0, and substituting and solving this quadratic equation, we will obtain the value of c as 0.54 and minus 1.2. We have been given two roots, but we know that the mean value theorem is applicable in the interval 0, 1. So only one root lies in that interval, that is c is equal to 0.54. So option B is the right answer. So by this, we have come to the end of the ISRO Scientist Civil question paper discussion. This is a pretty moderate question paper. Some of the questions are lengthy, so students found some difficulty in reading the question papers. Otherwise, the exam is quite basic and it is simple for the students. By this, we have come to the end of this question paper discussion session. I really hope that this is a helpful session. So for more enquiries related to courses offered by Civilianz, please contact 8281003366. Learn from the best.
Start your preparations for engineering competitive exams from top educators. Learn from the best.